God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 28 of Your Journey Is Not Over. My name is Tanya Pearson Randolph. This is my own personal journey, and the expressions and opinions are of my own. I own all the rights to my personal journey and to Your Journey Is Not Over. Neither are to be used, copied, or edited in any way without my consent. Today, as I always do, I prayed and I said, okay, what are we going to talk about today? Are we getting back to my own personal journey now? And while I was praying, I was reflecting and thanking God for everything, for saving me and leading me on this path a year ago, for me to be able to relate and help so many people, to speak up and to speak out and to stop shame and show my weaknesses and my vulnerabilities and let people know it's okay to fall. In my case, as in a lot, I completely crashed out. I hit that brick wall I had swerved and dodged and tried to avoid most of my life. I was forced to face every aspect of my life, every trauma, every fear, every vulnerability I ever had. I locked it away. I stored it so deep inside of me. And a year ago, I was led to speak out. When I am at speaking engagements, there's always a meet and greet after all the speakers have spoken. By the way, this is my favorite part. I love meeting new people and having one-on-one, if only for just a few minutes. And I do get asked a lot, how did you start out speaking? I always laugh and I say, well, it wasn't me. It was God who chose this for me. What I find humorous now is that for people to know me personally, know me my whole life, family, friends, acquaintances, or just know of me. I am from a small town where everyone knows everyone kind of thing. And like any small town, people like to gossip. They like to lie, spread rumors, deflect from themselves is what I refer to it now. So I've always been to myself. After high school, I moved on. Sadly, a lot of people seem to stay stuck in that mind frame. Focus on society standards and instead of their own personal standards, their own personal growth. Stuck on status, popularity, fitting in, impressing the village instead of impressing themselves. Like I said, I moved on. And as you will hear later on in my personal journey, life took a lot of twists and turns and became tragic for me shortly after high school. And as always in my life, I moved forward. I moved on from high school and had more important things to worry about than the gang or fitting in or hanging out. I didn't have space or time to worry or focus about others' lives. Throughout my life, I worked. I raised my kids who were my entire world. I stayed to myself. I maintained my close friendships that I'd had before, but we all know you get busy with work, with kids, with sports, with bills, with life. So as I've been told, I become a mystery to some. I always laugh when I'm told that, because as friendly and outgoing as I am, had anyone have asked me whatever they wanted to know, I'm quite sure I would have answered them openly and honest. I would much rather, and I do respect that so much more, than for someone to assume or make up gossip just to seem interesting. Again, small town vibes. So I, through the years, just stayed in my life, reserved, and yes, guarded as to whom I let in my bubble, my little world. Close enough to me to know me personally and my struggles behind closed doors. Like I said, I was in my life, low-key, quiet, even deactivated my Facebook for 8 years, completely unplugged from status, popularity, fitting in. I was what we call adulting. So for me, to a year ago, start out doing videos, and then July 17th, 2024 was the launch of the podcast. And for me to speak openly and honest about the most horrible parts of my journey is so out of my character. I always let people think what they wanted to think. Whatever they perceived was one's own perception. To each their own. Am I human? Yes. Did my feelings get hurt throughout the years of people thinking or saying things that weren't even close to who I am or who I knew myself to be? Of course. But I guess that's part of the course of leading a pretty private life and living in a small town. So, was speaking ever in my plans? Not even close. If someone would have told me 2 years ago that this would be in my future, I would have said, there's no way. I liked my privacy, my quiet life, but God, He had other plans for me. I have to laugh because when I first started out, so way out of my character, right? People around me thought I was nuts, thought I had, as my grandma would have said, thought I'd lost my ever loving mind. Nobody understood why all at once I was going to speak out and share my traumas and everything about my life, including the darkest night of my soul. And most disagreed. They didn't understand. And being honest, a year ago, I probably didn't understand it all myself. I was just doing and acting on what God told me to speak, to relate, and to help people, to be a groundbreaker and show people that no matter the perception you may have of someone, no one ever really knows what struggles, challenges, and traumas someone has been through and survived in their lives. Society becomes so superficial that people lost sight of the depths of people's soul. And like I said in Chicago last week in a speech I gave, am I shocked I'm doing this? Yes. Never something I aimed for or ever desired. But in preparation for this and this part of my journey, it all began that night, April 6, 2024. The complete breakdown of all of my defenses, my ego, my safety, my confidence, my walls that I built like armor around my life. The dark night of the soul I see now wasn't to take me out of this world as it felt at that moment in time, but to break me all the way down, strip me down, peel me like an onion, layer by layer, so that God could rebuild me stronger, wiser, more confident. Not ego. A lot of people like to confuse those two. If you're confident, then you must have an ego, right? There can't be anything egotistical about telling the most horrendous parts of your life. And I do want to relay that it's perfectly okay to love and accept yourself exactly as you are, scars and battle wounds and all. During this last year, I overcame a lot of roadblocks and things and people that tried to stop me, block me, delay me, and go against what I am doing, which is so bizarre to me. I can't wrap my head around why someone wouldn't want me to help others with my journey. And by being relatable to so many people that are secretly, quietly, behind closed doors, truly suffering and hiding it with a smile and running on autopilot like I was. A year later, I have a complete understanding of what my purpose is and a determination to help people begin their own healing journey and to let people know they are not alone. Because I know sometimes it feels like you are, but you're never alone. If God can save me and bring me from the depths of hell to speaking on a podcast or in a public forum to help people, to save lives in just a year, imagine what God can do for you. When you feel lost or despaired and alone, please talk to God and hold on. You got this. We got this. God's got this. And God's got you and a plan and a purpose for you in your life that only you can fill. Nobody can fill those shoes but you. You were made and created for a certain purpose. I do want to say thank you to those that supported and understood me and wanting me to speak out. And thank you to those that doubted me, mocked me, or assumed I was doing it for merely attention or financial gain, and tried to detour me away from my path and my purpose. People doubt what they don't understand, and society doesn't like when someone decides to be different and dares to be different and won't stay in line to societal standards, social norms. I just want to say doubt, ridicule fueled my fire and made me more determined to help more people to heal and live their best lives, happiest and healthiest lives. Want to know what I get out of it? Knowing I made a difference. This little girl who was voiceless, merely mute, now has a voice that can change people's perspectives, change people's lives, is my reward. And according to God, my purpose. God said, I gave you a voice for a reason, Tanya. Now you're going to use it. We all need to heal from something. The world needs healing. One person at a time. We can all get there. I do not own the rights to the things that I'm about to share. This one's called the rooftop theory. A rooftop changes the way you see everything. From the ground, the city feels overwhelming. From above, it makes sense. Some people never climb high enough to see the bigger picture. Some spend too much time looking down, forgetting to live in the moment. Some find peace in knowing the world looks different depending on where you stand, because perspective isn't about where you are. It's about how high you're willing to go to see things differently. People will come and go in your life, but the person in the mirror will be there forever. So be good to yourself. This one's called the waterfall theory. People don't chase waterfalls for photos. They chase them to feel something. The sound drowns out the noise in your head. The mist hits your skin like a reset button. And for a moment, everything goes quiet. You don't go for the view. You go to let go of pressure, of heartbreak, of fear. As the water crashes down, so does everything that you've been holding in. It's not just a waterfall. It's therapy from the earth. Also, there are some pages of my soul that are still hard for me to read, and that's okay. I'm honoring my journey one day at a time, and at the same time, I am writing myself a new one. I got one more. Anyone who thinks they are too small to make a difference has never met the honeybee. Be the change you wish to see. Thank you to everyone that has joined me on my journey this last year, encouraged me, inspired me, reached out with the kindest of words and love. Thank you to those that have invited me to speak and hopefully make a difference in someone's life. I am forever humbled and grateful. And yes, next week, my plans are to jump back on my own personal journey. This concludes my podcast for today. Please join me next Tuesday. Listen in. And always remember, your journey is not over. God bless.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through.